Brisbane-born golf champion and winner of the 2022 Open Championship, Cameron Smith, was one of the top-ranked golfers to jump ship to LIV Golf. Shortly after joining the Rebel League, Cam admitted it was a scary career move but stated that he and his family, including his associates, were pleased in hindsight with the move. And just when we thought that was the last we'll be hearing from Smith, the former world number 2 revealed that he had a conversation with Rory McIlroy about the PGA LIV Rift. From all observations, McIlroy wanted him to stay, but Smith had his mind made up. So what exactly did McIlroy tell Smith that wasn't enough to change his mind, and what was Rory's reaction after Cameron ditched the PGA Tour? Keep an eye out for more details. When the Open champion confirmed his move to the Saudi-backed breakaway circuit, he became the highest-ranked player to make the switch. Before the confirmation, speculation surrounding Cameron's PGA Tour future became more pronounced during the final men's major of the year. Apparently, he had refused to deny the rumors linking him to the Rebel League in his winner's press conference. In a chat with Sky Sports, the 5-time PGA Tour champion was ready to cop some heat about his future in the course of the FedEx St. Jude Invitational, with the 2022 Open Championship winner completing the PGA Tour season before announcing his move to LIV the day after finishing the FedEx Cup campaign. This signifies that Cam has lost the right to participate in PGA Tour events, with all LIV Golf members suspended indefinitely. The Australian pro golfer was also ineligible to represent the international team at the President's Cup in September and subsequent events. However, he remains one of the rising stars on the 2022 PGA Tour. He won 3 tournaments this year alone, so when he officially switched allegiance to LIV Golf, it affected the PGA Tour standings. It's safe to say he's Greg Norman's breakaway league's most crucial signing after Phil Mickelson and Dustin Johnson. Imagine entering the circuit as the reigning champion of 2 of the year's top 5 stroke play, the Open and the Players. You're bound to enjoy the support of LIV Golf and its sympathizers, while facing severe criticism from PGA Tour players and the golf community. Not only was he criticized, but Smith was also indefinitely suspended by Jay Monahan, the PGA Tour commissioner, a move the 29-year-old dismissed, stating he hasn't resigned from the tour. Cameron caused a stir in the golf world by becoming the first top 10 golfer to join LIV. He started the final day of the Open at St. Andrews 4 shots behind world number 1 Rory McIlroy and Victor Hovland of Norway, only to play a fantastic back 9 and clinch victory. After the game, Smith was asked by a reporter about his intentions to join the rival tour. The 29-year-old was obviously surprised because he had just recorded a major win, but the press was more interested in his next move. "I just won the British Open, and I think that's what you should be asking about." Before his inspiring win at St. Andrews, Cam revealed that he had been in contact with LIV Golf for a couple of months. He reached out to the PGA Tour commissioner Jay Monahan and talked with some of his colleagues, including Rory McIlroy, about his decision, but he had decided to move even after his conversation with Rory. So it begs the question, why did Rory McIlroy call Smith, and what did they discuss? 2 days after losing the 150th Open Championship to Cameron, Rory McIlroy made a phone call he certainly didn't want to make. He called to congratulate Smith on winning the Open Championship and gave him reasons he should stay on the PGA Tour. Cameron obviously didn't heed McIlroy's advice. Instead, he opted to sign a reported 9-figure deal with the Rebel Circuit and made his debut at LIV Boston shortly after the Tour Championship. Those two, along with Scottie Scheffler, won most of the year in 2022. The trio combined for over 11 victories around the world, including half the major championships. But what happened off the course dominated the headlines more often. Smith would later open up about what Rory said to him during a post-Open Championship phone call. "I have the utmost respect for Rory, and I really like what he says on the course." Smith spoke to the Sydney Morning Herald. "Congratulations," he said. "Although there were a couple of little jabs, he was pleased with how I performed. After that, we talked about LIV and the PGA Tour. There were a couple of things he wanted me to be aware of before I eventually made my choice. I wouldn't say he persuaded me to stay, but it was obvious he still wanted me around." However, Smith would later reveal that he had already been in talks with his countryman and chief executive of LIV Golf, Greg Norman, long before McIlroy reached out to him. So, if PGA's Golden Boy did want him to remain on tour, it would have taken more than just a phone call. But from all indications, Rory played more of an advisory role and wasn't keen on convincing him to remain on the PGA Tour. Rory confirmed this in a statement to the media when he revealed that he had spoken to Cameron about his purported move in an attempt to retain his skill and technique on the PGA Tour. He said the phone call wasn't a plea but more of a factual presentation. "I had a conversation with Smith just 2 days after the Open," said McIlroy. "Firstly, I wanted to congratulate him for a well-played game. As for folks who think one way or another, I really care less if they leave or not. It won't make a difference to me. However, I would appreciate it if people made educated decisions and basically knew what's coming down the pipeline. I just want individuals to hear information from both sides before making decisions, and that has been my basic focus." He continued, "I've always said that guys can choose what's best for themselves and their families, basically anything they choose to. But what I want is for guys to make their choices based on all of the facts and information in front of them, which many don't." Despite Rory's claims, Cam still faulted the PGA Tour. You see, prior to joining LIV Golf, speculation surrounding Smith's future in the PGA Tour became more pronounced during the final men's major of the year. Apparently, he had refused to deny the rumors linking him to the Rebel League in his winter's press conference, and with reports ahead of the FedEx Cup playoffs stating he had plans to switch, it was somewhat obvious that he was on his way out of the tour. In an interview with Golf Digest, the Australian pro golfer admitted that joining LIV Golf was purely a business decision, as money was a significant factor. And that's not all. He also said he needed more time for his family. "Money was a factor in making that decision, I won't deny that," Cameron said. "I just couldn't ignore the offer. It was a business decision. The major reason for my joining is the league's appealing schedule. I'll finally be able to spend quality time at home in Australia, which is something I haven't been able to do. Honestly, getting that part of my life back was really appealing." So apparently money wasn't the only reason for his decision, as he expressed his admiration for the LIV team format. Smith said he had previously missed weddings and rugby league games back at home due to his previous tight schedule. Now he had the chance to switch to a more flexible tournament. You'd only expect him to take it. And just when you thought Smith was done talking, he revealed something very shocking about his former tour's schedule. While criticizing the PGA Tour's schedule, Smith said it was brutal and the players never enjoyed the tour's setup. Cameron was said to have left Australia for the United States in order to stay relevant on the PGA Tour. According to Cam, golfers can't effectively compete if they choose to stay outside the United States. To keep your PGA Tour card and be competitive in the FedEx Cup, you have to be over here, and honestly, it is brutal, Cam said. Resulting from the personal time he gets at the end of every season, Cam takes advantage of it to work on his golf swing. He did manage for some time, but when he had had enough, he just had to call it quits. From his statement, Smith obviously feels more comfortable at LIV Golf because, according to him, he'd be occupied for a few months, and after that, he'd be able to focus on himself and his family with enough personal time for practice. Of all the defectors, Smith seems to be the only one to have given in-depth reasons as to why he couldn't continue on the PGA, and maybe he has a point here. Smith has been vocal about the issue and even called it a big plus since he'd be able to play in Australia. Although he wasn't too sure about the venue for the events the following season, he was pretty sure some would be held in Australia. Imagine traveling to the United States for events feeling like your country is being overlooked and still having less personal time for yourself. And then another tour comes on board, organizes professional golf tournaments at less popular venues, and conducts fewer events while offering a hefty paycheck. We bet you'd grab the offer. Well, that's the uncomfortable situation Smith found himself, and he just had to opt out of the PGA. However, it seems unlikely that Cam will regret his action. Smith is said to have earned almost $30 million on the PGA Tour, and in a few weeks after joining the LIV, he's been racking up some mind-blowing cash. Smith earned $4 million in prize money after his first LIV Golf victory in his second start on the Saudi Arabia-backed circuit, with a 3-shot triumph over Peter Uihlein and Dustin Johnson outside of Chicago. Also with the win at Rich Harvest Farms in September and a $2 million slice for his team, Punch Golf Club came second in the final stage. And recall, he signed a $100 million deal with the Rebel League. So on the expiration of his contract, he's expected to have amassed a lot on LIV Tour in contrast to his PGA Tour earnings. But what do you think about his decision to join LIV Golf? Can he maintain his high momentum now that he's in the Saudi-backed series? And we'll catch you in the next one.